The guy with glasses, looking at Jung's long legs, immediately plots an evil plan. Jung is walking home at night and senses that someone seems to be following her. She bravely carries on walking. A man with a lighter stops in his tracks. Jung walks quickly. She turns her head and is knocked out cold. At the same time, the mother, seeing that her daughter hasn't come home so late, anxiously goes out to look for her. But in the grass not far away, Jung is in a disheveled state. She has been violated by the man. It is indeed the guy with glasses. He slowly pulls up his pants, takes Jung's mobile phone, hangs up the call from her mother, and then steps forward, stroking Jung and threatening her. "If you dare to call the police, you're dead." The guy then has another wicked thought and says to Jung, "Your mother's disabled husband has been dead for a while. It's time to make her a woman again, just like you." He takes out his glasses cloth and wipes his glasses. This seemingly honest man turns out to be a pervert. He says to Jung, "I told your mother at work that I would buy your virginity for $50. But your mother didn't know what was good for her and slapped my face and even broke my glasses. These are new glasses and cost me a lot, so I'll take your body to pay for it." At this time, the mother is already not far away. The guy gets up and is about to attack Jung's mother. Thinking that her mother is going to be hurt, Jung picks up a stone beside her and immediately rushes over, angrily smashing it at the man's head. 1, 2, 3 times. The stones keep falling. The guy is completely motionless. Jung is a good student and her dream is to become a civil servant. After her father died, she and her mother depend on each other. Her mother is disabled and has a hearing impairment. Jung teaches her mother to speak using sign language. She works while going to school, but fate doesn't show any mercy to this poor mother and daughter. Should the weak always be bullied? A colleague of the mother's at the factory has long had his eye on Jung. He even says to Jung's mother, "I'll exchange $50 for Jung's first night." Jung's mother is very angry and slaps the colleague. So the colleague holds a grudge and often goes to the coffee shop where Jung works to peek at her. That night, after the man has a few shots of soju, the scene at the beginning happens. He violates Jung but is also killed by Jung. After that, Jung goes to the police station to turn herself in. But the police say that she has hit too hard and now that the man is dead, it can't be determined whether Jung has been violated. Even the lawyer says that there has been no case where killing was regarded as self-defense so far. Now all the circumstances are against Jung. She is an adult and will be sentenced. But Jung doesn't care, as long as her mother isn't hurt. The lawyer tries to find a way for her, suggesting to make this public and seek help from women's protection organizations and society. But Jung refuses. Compared with being sentenced, she doesn't want others to point fingers at them. Soon the case goes to court. Jung is bullied by the bad guy. She is clearly acting in self-defense but is still sentenced to 5 years in prison. The judge says that there is insufficient evidence that the man has violated Jung. After hearing the verdict, the mother cries and runs to the judge, kneeling and begging him to let her daughter go, blocking the prison guards from taking her daughter away, and hugging Jung and crying bitterly. Even Jung's classmate beside her can't help crying, but the outcome can't be changed. Jung is still locked up in prison. From then on, her name becomes 2037. There are 5 cellmates in her cell. They are Soon Jae, a death row inmate, Lia, a madam, Sarang, a thief, Haesu, a fraudster in a pink dress, and Jangmi, a bigamist. According to the rules, they have to report their names, crimes, and sentencing times first. Jung is so scared that she can't speak. Haesu lets her come in and rest first. Jung enters the prison. She accidentally steps on Sarang's foot. Sarang instantly goes berserk, grabs Jung's hair and pulls her to the ground, punching and kicking her. Fortunately, the others quickly step forward to pull them apart. Lia pins Sarang down, saying that she has an emotional management disorder and will lose her temper easily. Jung sits up and sees that her mouth is bleeding. Haesu kindly throws over some ointment. Jung doesn't expect that such a thing will happen on her first day. At night, Jung is so scared that she hides under the quilt and cries, but she doesn't dare to make a sound and can only cry silently. Early the next morning, Lia's hand is numb from being slept on. Jung's tears in her sleep have wet her clothes. Lia can't help but feel sorry for this newly arrived girl. What has happened to her that makes her cry so sadly? She asks Soon Jae beside her to pray for her too. After getting up, Lia takes out her toiletries from her bosom and gives them to her and also takes out her secretly stored sausages. At the dining table, Soon Jae also tries to comfort Jung, but she still sits alone in the corner, silent. What in the world are the crimes of those inmates in the women's joint? At night, Soon Jae tells Jung about her own misfortune. Her son was run over and killed by a drunk driver, and the guy even fled the scene. In a mad rage, Soon Jae went to the drunk's house and set it on fire. Unexpectedly, 5 other people sleeping in the house were burned to death. She tells Jung not to keep everything under wraps. Whether it's writing a letter or praying, she has to do something to keep going. After hearing Soon Jae-ee's words, Young writes a letter to her mother, telling her that she's doing well here and that her cellmates are very friendly. When they wake up the next day, they see that Young seems like a different person and has the motivation to work. She asks Soon Jae-ee how to send the letter. Soon Jae-ee tells her to just clip the envelope on the clip at the door and gives her stamps and an envelope. Young chooses to work in the toughest and most tiring auto repair shop. The pay is high there, and she wants to save more money for her mother. Finally, the first visitation day arrives. The poor girl was bullied by a pervert and ended up in prison for excessive self-defense. The mother practices in front of the mirror in the bathroom over and over again, smiling and saying, "I'm living a healthy life." But the moment she sees her daughter, the tears still stream down her face uncontrollably. She can only choke out the words she practiced before. "Thank you for teaching me to read. Thank you for being my daughter." When Young hears this, her tears also start to flow. The grievances in her heart are finally released at this moment. She never expected that the mother and daughter could only meet separated by a glass. Young has just managed to adapt to prison life, but soon another accident happens. One day, the prison guards come to do a room check. Young has a high fever and can't even sit up. After the prison doctor's examination, it is found that Young is pregnant. For Young, it's like a freaking thunderbolt out of nowhere. She runs out like crazy, rushes to the prison gate regardless of everything, keeps pounding on the gate, and screams heartbreakingly for her mother, wanting her mother to take her home. Young has just gotten out of the pain of being bullied, but is told that she is pregnant with that man's child. The prison guards pull her away mercilessly. Young is tied up all over and locked in a dark cell. She can only curl up and cry. At the same time, the cellmates find out about Young's situation and all feel extremely sorry for her. She is at the age when she should be playing around in school uniforms but has encountered such a thing. What's worse, the judge believes that Young's act was not self-defense but manslaughter. She can't have an abortion. Soon Jae-ee comes to visit Young and sees the scratch marks on her stomach and her lying on the ground in a disheveled state. Young tried to freeze the child to death in this way, and her lips are even purple from the cold. Soon Jae-ee sees her like this and hugs her in her arms with a broken heart, telling her to hang in there no matter what. Young lies in Soon Jae-ee's arms and says, "I want to live." Soon Jae-ee can't help but sigh about the unfairness of fate. How could God have the heart to let such a nice girl suffer like this? Abortion is illegal in South Korea. Young returns to the cell. The cellmates are divided into two groups. Haesoo advocates getting rid of this problem child pronto. It's the only way out, but Lee-ra believes that the child is innocent. Sarang directly takes action, pulling Young and trying to make her abort the child. Lee-ra rushes forward to stop her. The two of them get into a tussle and are both put in solitary confinement. When the mother comes to visit for the second time, Young refuses to see her. The mother types anxiously on her mobile phone, "Is something wrong with my daughter?" The prison guard can't stomach to tell her the truth and can only say sorry. For the third and fourth times, Young still doesn't see her. She doesn't want her mother to see her like this, but the more she does this, the more worried her mother gets. At this time, Young doesn't know what to do. One day, several prison bullies come after Young. Young is about to be bullied by the prison bullies. The prison meanie shoots her hand out to Young's neck, gets all up in her face and says, "Come with me to the bathroom." At this moment, Soon Jae-ee suddenly walks over. She grabs the bully's hair with one hand and presses a ballpoint pen against her neck with the other hand. "If you say one more word, you'll be the 6th person I kill. Didn't I tell you not to touch the people in my room?" The bully quickly begs for mercy. "I'm wrong, I'll never dare again." While the other sisters aren't paying attention, Young stabs herself in the abdomen with a piece of glass. This scene is just seen by Sarang, who has just washed her hair. She angrily picks up a tire and throws it over, giving Young a good scolding. She was abandoned by her parents when she was young and hates parents who hurt their children the most. Fortunately, the prison guards arrive in time and put Sarang in the dark cell. Soon Jae-ee proposes to accept the help of social or women's federation organizations. This way, the sentence can be reduced. Maybe she can be released in 2 or 3 years. But Young still doesn't want to accept the help. The cellmates beside her all persuade her, "You're still so young, it's better to get out earlier." The girl was dead on the victim, but she got locked up in the slammer and her whole life got trashed. Young says, "Compared to doing 5 years in this joint, spending the rest of my life ducking other people's looks would be way more agonizing for me." Young doesn't want her mom to freak out. Her mom ain't in good shape to begin with. If she knew that Young was pregnant, she would only be more heartbroken. Soon Jae-ee can only hope that they'll get the jury's understanding when the next court session comes around. With everyone's care, Young finally has the motivation to keep living. One day, the prison guard tells her that the warden specifically instructed her to work in the infirmary. The pay there is even better. After explaining the work to her, when leaving, the prison guard tells her, "If anyone bullies you, make sure to let me know." Late at night, Young writes a letter to her mom. She writes that she still doesn't have the courage to see her mom. Just give her 1 more year. Once she becomes a model inmate, they'll be able to meet. Mom, looking at the letter from Young, cries with her hands trembling. Finally, a weight is lifted off her heart. Young is working in the infirmary and sees the rainbow outside. Everything seems to be going in a better direction. The girl isn't even married but is pregnant. All of a sudden, Young feels a sharp pain in her stomach. After the doctor's examination, it turns out that she's already 6 months pregnant. But the baby in her tummy senses her emotions and doesn't dare to grow. Young hears the baby's heartbeat for the first time and has mixed feelings. On the way back, the warden asks her if there's anything she wants to eat. Young whispers, "Sticky rice cakes." That's her mom's favorite. Young is missing her mom. The next day, the warden calls Young over and gives her a box of sticky rice cakes. The warden remembered what she said last time. Young is the same age as the warden's youngest daughter, so the warden treats her like her own kid and always wants to take better care of her. Soon, the second court session arrives. In court, Young doesn't defend herself but says that she'll abide by the judgment and serve her sentence in prison. She just wants to go back to her mom and live a good life as soon as possible. It's really scary and tough in here. Young can't help but cry. The judge and the jury present are all touched by Young's simple words. After the jury's decision, the judge pronounces the verdict. Even though it wasn't sexual violence, there was still shown to be coercive or violent behavior. In the end, the 5-year sentence is changed to 1 year. Back in prison, her cellmates are all happy for Young. She'll be able to go home in a few months. Young actually lies to the prison doctor. One day, when the doctor examines her body, Young says that she's been having headaches at night recently. The doctor prescribes her headache medicine, but Young doesn't take it. She puts all the pills into a bottle. She's already hidden a whole bottle of pills. As days pass by, Young's belly is getting bigger and bigger. One day, everyone is out in the sun together. Liara listens to the baby's kicks and is also looking forward to the baby growing up quickly. Soon Jae asks Young, "Is there anything you want to do?" Young says that she wants to see cosmos flowers. But in prison, where can you find cosmos flowers? It's just a wild wish. When they go back to the room, Liara feeds Young an apple. Haesoo gives all her favorite books to Young. Although they're in prison, they seem like a loving family. So the Chellies stay up all night, preparing something in the toilet. When Young wakes up the next morning, she sees that the toilet walls are painted full of cosmos flowers. Although they can't give her the real flowers, they're fulfilling her wish in this way. Young touches the paintings on the wall and seems to be healed. Soon Jae tells her, people with a criminal record can take the civil servant exam again as long as they've been out of prison for 5 years. Young immediately feels full of hope. The 5 sisters are protecting Young in their own ways. Can you give birth in prison? At night, the sister inmates secretly burn the midnight oil to make clothes for the baby. Haesoo wakes up in the morning and finds that her pants have been cut. It turns out that Liara used her fabric to make a piece of clothing. The cellmates start taking action one after another to make clothes for the soon-to-be-born baby. When there isn't enough fabric, they steal from the yard where clothes are hung out to dry. And clumsy Soon Jae actually steals the biggest piece. They start arguing and bickering. Life in the cell becomes warm and cozy. Everyone gathers together to think of a name for the baby. They come up with over 100 names and fill up a whole book. Sarang, who isn't good at expressing herself, also makes a handmade toy for the baby. Soon Jae takes advantage of work time to make handicrafts quietly, but she's still discovered by the prison guards. Instead of punishing them, the guard quietly takes out a box of sewing kits. Young's arrival has brought a touch of humanity to this cold prison. But the good times don't last long. The girl was bullied by a pervert. She isn't even married but is pregnant. One day, Young's water breaks. She pours out the hidden pills and swallows them all in one go. With her last bit of strength, she clips the written letter on the door and then passes out. This is the only way out. When the Chellies get back, all they see is Young sprawled on the floor. Sarang hollers her head off for help. Soon, Young is sent to the hospital. The doctors start to deliver the baby. But no matter how much they call out, Young doesn't respond at all, because she took too many pills and isn't using any strength either. The doc has to shove Young's belly like a maniac. But Young's like a statue. She don't budge. She's dead set on not letting the creep's kid see the light of day. The doctor begs her to pull herself together. If this goes on, both she and the baby will die. But Young is already prepared to die with the baby. The 5 sisters in prison can't eat. They're all anxiously waiting for news about Young. Meanwhile, the cellmates see the letters on the door. They're all written by Young to her sisters. These are Young's last words. She thanks Soon Jae for taking care of her all these days. I know you've been praying for me all the time. Thanks to your timely comfort, I had the hope to keep living. She thanks Haesoo for giving her books. I found something I wanted to do that day. Young regrets not getting to know Liara earlier. I really want to show off to others that you're my sister. You're such an amazing person. I rely on you a lot. She writes to Jangmi. I hope you can find the person you love soon and live a sweet life. I can almost see you in a wedding dress. The sisters are already in tears when they read these letters. Even tough Sarang can't help crying. Please, when you go back to society, grow your hair long and try wearing makeup. "You're the most beautiful person I've ever seen. I'm afraid I'd get beaten up if I told you this face to face, so I'm writing it in the letter. I don't think your parents abandoned you. They're just protecting you in another way." In the hospital, Jung is sweating all over her face. She slowly closes her eyes, and a tear rolls down from the corner of her eye. The mother who lost her daughter is really pitiful. When Mom hears the news, she falls down as soon as she gets off the car in a hurry. Without bothering to pick up her fallen shoes, she rushes to the hospital and searches for her daughter from room to room. Seeing Jung lying motionless on the hospital bed, Mom feels like the sky has fallen. She staggers to Jung's side, hugs her in her arms and cries. Mom's crying so hard she can't even squeak. How the heck did we end up in this mess when we're both such sweethearts? Mom buys the pizza that Jung likes. She walks on the street barefoot and doesn't feel any pain anymore. Looking at Jung, who has become a vegetable, the pizza in her hand falls to the ground. Mom strokes Jung's face and says, "It's all Mom's fault. In the next life, when you're 18, you must live happily like other 18-year-old girls." The next day, a gentle breeze blows Jung's hair. Jung is lying quietly on the bed. All of a sudden, her finger moves. A few years later, Jung's baby is adopted by a kind couple. Mom is ironing clothes at home, with Jung's civil servant interview admission ticket beside her. Jung softly calls out, "Mom." Mom smiles too. I believe that the mother and daughter can live happily for the rest of their lives. This movie is called 2037. It has an open ending. It doesn't tell whether Jung is alive or not. Some people think that Jung is already dead. She took the pills before giving birth and had already given up the idea of living. Everything at the end is just Mom's imagination. Others think that Jung is still alive and finally gets to take the civil servant exam she dreamed of and starts a new life. Do you think Jung is still alive? Leave your thoughts in the comments section. If you liked today's video, remember to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. See you next time. Bye bye.